This is the Pet Buzz.
This is the Pet Buzz.
And here's the Dynamic Pet Duo.
Many of you know we lost two of our dogs, Thames first and then Hannah about 2 weeks ago. I think both dogs passed away, I would say, wouldn't you say, Dr. Fleck, in the last 3 months?
Yes.
You know, I think it's been really hard for both of us.
Yes.
But, almost every day when I check into Facebook, I'm always saddened to read the post because we see so many people who lost their pets. And I guess that's why I decided to invite our next guest to talk about coping after loss of a beloved pet.
And joining us today is Colleen Rolland. After a 23-year career in portfolio management, she decided to pursue another career. She is certified as a pet loss grief recovery specialist through the American Association of Healthcare Professionals and trained as a pet bereavement counselor with the renowned Dr. Wallace Seif, a private practice psychologist and founder of the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement. After Dr. Seif's death, she is now the president of the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement. Colleen, thank you so much for joining us today on the Pet Buzz.
We're excited that you're here.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I have to say a huge thank you for letting me come on the show and shine some light on what we do in the pet loss and grief support field. So thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. And unfortunately, I have to experience this every week with pet loss and the clients that deal with that pet loss. So what coping advice do you have for those who have recently lost a pet?
First and foremost, know that the bond that people share with their animal is very, very strong. And when they lose that bond through death, there's a huge gaping hole in their life. And they need to deal with that pain, and they have to process it. There's no way around it. You have to go through the stages of grief to get through it. And that's what a pet loss grief specialist will help you with.
You know, it's interesting because you find yourself, I think, when you lose a pet, many of our family and friends and coworkers, they don't really understand understand our sadness when we do lose a pet. So, and we get so many negative reactions. How do we know how to handle that?
That's a great question, Charlotte. There are usually three responses that a bereaved, somebody who is grieving the death of their pet, three responses that they can have. One of them is to get ticked off that people don't understand the depth of pain that you can feel. That's not a good way to handle anything. The second way is that you can become off kilter and you don't know how to deal with that. And then later on, when you think about it, you go, oh, why didn't I say this, and try to explain. The third way is to be very direct and say, please understand that I have lost a dear friend and someone who understood me and gave me unconditional love. Respect my grief. Help me through it. Be more tolerant.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, it's very sensitive and very appropriate.
And it's perfect. I mean, it's perfect, now that I'm thinking about it, because so many times you're in that situation. I mean, it's interesting because, we lost the dogs. I talked to my cousin and she just,
doesn't get it.
She doesn't get it. She's had dogs, but
But I think with COVID, more people are getting it because more people have been attached with their pets.
And the pets are a lifeline. I mean, they've become not only a family member, but they become a lifeline.
Definitely.
I know you had a question about family members.
Kids. I mean,
Yes.
How do you comfort children who have lost a pet?
Okay, so kids are very intuitive, and it's never a good idea to hide the fact that the pet has died. Depending on the age of the child, that will dictate how you deal with them. So for example, 2 to 3 years old, they have no life experience. They don't know what death is, but they should be told that the animal has died and is not coming back. What you can do to support children through the loss of a pet is to listen to them, guide them through it, model the behavior, take it as an opportunity to talk to them about the life cycle. It's brilliant. If you can do that, they will carry their reaction to death throughout their life. So that's what I would say.
Another brilliant answer by Colleen, by Colleen Rolland. I mean, I mean, this is so helpful. I mean, not only for us who have recently lost 2 pets, but for so many people out there, you know. I'm just curious about services that are available for those who need help, for those who are coping with a loss. What's out there?
Okay, so first of all, be very thankful because now there are more services than ever before. Pet loss grief support is a relatively new field, but right now you can go and get help through a pet loss grief specialist. I have my own practice. We are out there. You can Google it. You can go to a free chat room on our website for the association. People can get together, talk about their pets. It's staffed by caring volunteers. There are a gazillion books right now, really, really good ones. And again, going back to children, there's some great children's books out there. You're not alone anymore. Share your grief, talk to somebody about it.
You know, I think it's great that there's so many, and you can find obviously support systems in addition to the chat room at the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement, which is a good thing. But I mean, even back in the day, I think I told you, Dr. Fleck, that when I lived in New York, Bideawee, which is a local shelter, they have an office in New York City, or a campus in New York City, and then one in the Hamptons. They were one of the first outfits in New York to offer counseling, and it was tremendous. Just so you can go to a place and you can talk to not only a counselor but other people.
I think it's so important. We need to talk about it, right? When you have these things. So, what other advice do you have for those who have, like, recently lost a pet?
Understand that there are stages of grief that you will go through, exactly like losing a human. They are different, but they are similar. And be gentle with yourself. That animal companion was dear to you. So you need to understand that that pain that is so sharp and searing will never really go away. It'll just dull over time. But your pet would want you to open up your heart to another pet that needs love. They're always going to be in your heart. You can tap into that love anytime you think about them. So I would just say, know that as an animal person, you have an amazing ability to love and open your heart.
So maybe a statement can be made: you never replace, but you fill a void.
Yeah,
That's excellent, Dr. Fleck. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've had to give that statement a number of times.
Many times.
And it's very painful. And I have to admit, I love this interview. It has to be a little bit painful for both of us because of our recent history. But I have to offer one other thing, too, that was meant. I've been in practice for such a long time and had to go through putting a pet through to the next life the other day. And it was the first time I heard something that was really great from the pet owner. The pet owner said to me, you know, our pet, and gave the name of the pet, has lived a full life. And that really meant something to me, and it meant something to them. And I think it's much easier for them to cope because of that. Colleen, thank you for coming to us today. It was a marvelous interview.
It was a pleasure.
And so important.
And so helpful to so many people.
Helpful
to so many people out there.
Charlotte and I, too.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Well, just to remind you, that was Colleen Rolland, president of the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement. We are so glad that she was able to join us today.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Pet Buzz.